How's it going? Colin Schertzinger here from Stark State College. This is the Chapter 8 Game Review Assignment. Both of the games I'm going to be reviewing today, good and bad, will be on the N64 system. And on the N64 system, we're going to start out with my favorite game of all time. And that game is Banjo Kazooie. Why don't we pop it in right now? Right as the game boots up, you are welcomed by Banjo and his cheerful pals playing the opening melody. It's easy to see that this game's world is full of color and cheerful characters. After you create a new game, a cutscene is shown. We see the main antagonist, Gruntilda the Witch, discover that she is in fact not the prettiest of them all. Tooty is, Banjo's little sister. After this tragic discovery, Gruntilda bursts from her lair and swoops down to capture Tooty so she can attempt to steal her beauty. Although Tooty was right in front of Banjo's house, Grunty managed to grab her without any issue. When Banjo and Kazooie finally come outside, Tooty is nowhere to be found. At this time you meet Bottles, a face that will become familiar throughout the game. Bottles lets you in on what happened. And from there, the goal of the game is to get your little sister back from Grunty. The majority of the game takes place within Grunty's lair. Her lair acts as a hub world that connects to 9 separate levels. The levels in Grunty's lair are accessible after completing unfinished puzzles that are scattered around within the lair. You can find the jigsaw pieces, or jiggies, required to complete the puzzle inside of the various levels, and even a few are found within the lair itself. Jiggies aren't the only thing that you need to collect to progress. There are also multiple doors throughout the lair that require a certain number of musical notes. These are also found within the levels. Each level contains 100 musical notes, 10 jiggies, and 5 Jinjos. Jinjos are small, colorful creatures that get lost in the levels. Collect 5 of them and you can earn a Jiggy. Now let's move on to the gameplay. Right off the bat, it's easy to assume that this game is just a Mario 64 clone. Although Banjo-Kazooie borrows quite a bit from Mario 64, it does well at differentiating itself. Banjo has the ability to transform, dive, fly, shoot projectiles, and even has an invincibility mode. Banjo-Kazooie also has arguably the best textures on the N64, and to me personally, I believe Banjo-Kazooie is a few steps in front of Mario 64. Going back to the Jiggies, they can either be found in the level or be obtained by completing puzzles or minigames. The inventive ways that you collect these Jiggies keeps the game from being a tedious collectathon. With the appearance of the game, some may assume that it's designed for just kids, and as a result it probably has no challenge. This isn't true. The game's difficulty gradually increases as you progress, and if you're attempting to 100% the game, prepare for some tricky platforming practice. The world is full of creative enemies and items with googly eyes. I just dare you to play this game and be sad. Let's now talk about the sound of the game. A name that is synonymous of Banjo-Kazooie and Rare is Grant Kirkhope, the beloved composer of GoldenEye, Donkey Kong 64, Viva Pinata, and last but not least, Banjo-Kazooie. Not only is the music cohesive with the game's world, it's also dynamic. The music will change depending on what area of the level you're in. If you're in a cave or underwater, the music will change to reflect that. The effects add a much appreciated level of immersion. Now let's move on to the price. The game is included in the Xbox One game Rare Replay. Rare Replay is a compilation disc that contains most of Rare's previous games. And you can currently pick this up for around $15 to $20, which is a really great value. I encourage you to pick that up. Or if you want to go old school and have a physical cartridge, it'll run you about the same price. For a game that rivals quality of $60 games today, I believe $15 is quite a steal for a game of this quality. Since I enjoy Banjo-Kazooie so much, I try to play it at least once a year, and to me, I believe the replay value is great because of how fun the game is. But if you aren't into platformers as much, I could see how the replay value could be a little bit lower, considering the series didn't include multiplayer until Banjo-Tooie. I give this game a 5 out of 5. To this day, I haven't played a better 3D platformer, and my nostalgia never dies. Okay, we just took a look at the best game of all time, now let's look at the worst. Superman 64. Let's pop it in. I mean, how bad can it really be? Starting the game, you're welcomed by a theme that is obviously not the Superman theme. I'm unsure why they had to use stock music rather than using the memorable Superman theme. Most video games start with a cutscene to motivate the player to want to push through the game. In Superman 64, you get Lex Luthor telling you that you'll never find your friends in a virtual world. That's it. But you know, I mean, maybe the game could be redeeming in its gameplay. I mean, Superman flying around fighting bad guys sounds pretty good, right? 1999 should be pretty far into the N64's life cycle. It should be using all the power that it has, you know? I mean, Banjo Kazooie came out in 1998, and look how great that game looked. Let's see what this game that was released in 1999 with, you know, it's a property that is so valuable. Superman. Okay, let's see what the game looks like. When you are instantly dropped into the game, you have no indication of how to fly. Usually when I think of a good game, I think of a game that lets you naturally learn how to play. After pushing every button until I could figure out how to fly, I finally lift off. The flying controls are terrible. The game requires you to play in a counterintuitive way just to be able to maneuver through the hoops. This is actual footage of me playing the game correctly. No good flying game should play like this. The game gives very unreasonable time limits to complete the so-called mazes, and on top of that, you must restart from the beginning of the maze if you fail. That being said, the maze portions are actually the meat of the game, and between the mazes there are very quick missions that give you barely any instructions with no time at all to complete them. It may sound like I'm exaggerating, but I could never expect a player to beat any of these missions without having played them before. Not to mention the game throws sharp turns at you constantly. More often than not, you'll fly into a wide arc and end up somewhere completely different than you anticipated. If you can't already tell from the video, the world of Superman 64 is a barren wasteland with buildings that nobody enters and fogs that never leave. It's a desolate place that looks more like a post-apocalyptic city rather than Metropolis. In the end, just about every aspect of Superman 64 is bad or just confusing. I would not recommend this game at any price, and I don't imagine anybody would replay this game. I'm gonna give this game a 1 out of 5. Don't try it. And that was my review for Banjo Kazooie and Superman 64. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a great day.